Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be doing a first trimester recap. I have been trying to get this video filmed for a few weeks now. By now, my finding out I'm pregnant video is already up, and I think I also have another appointment with my first ultrasound, and so I'm finally sitting down to do like a first trimester recap. So I have so much that I want to share with you guys in this video. I kind of broke it out into a few different sections. So I'm going to be talking about how I could tell that I was pregnant, symptoms, products I used, appointments, things like that. So let's go ahead and get into it. So really quickly, I mentioned this in my Finding Out I'm Pregnant vlog, which I will link for you guys if you have not watched that. But we actually were trying to get pregnant intentionally. So my partner Skylar and I, we've been together for 10 years and decided this year that we would start trying to have a baby. So it took us, I think, a total of 3 months. We did have a little bump in the road with a early miscarriage, but I think a total of 3 to 5 months is how long it took to get pregnant with our baby. So some of the signs I already recognized from the first time that I was pregnant, where it ended up in a miscarriage, but those signs were kind of like these bubbling type feelings in my torso area, and that is actually caused from the PCG hormone surging in your body, which is the pregnancy hormone. So your body is kind of like trying to shift organs around, trying to make space for a baby. So that was definitely a feeling that I could tell right away. And maybe it's just because I'm also a person who is very in tune with my body, because not all women do feel that or notice it, but I definitely did. Another huge sign was definitely breast pain, like horrible breast pain, the worst breast pain I've ever had, worse than periods or anything like that. And I actually always did have really painful periods, but the breast pain was like insane, especially the first month, I would say. And that is because one of the other first things that are happening in a pregnancy is your breasts are already starting to send signals to produce milk, basically. I also started feeling very fatigued, very tired, needing naps during the day, and I'm not a person who really takes naps. So that was also a huge sign, and that's just because your body is really tired with everything that's going on, all the changes. And then of course my period being over a week late was definitely a huge sign that I was pregnant. And I think we waited maybe like a week and a half or so to take a pregnancy test to make sure that there'd be enough of the PCG hormone in my body to actually come up on a pregnancy test. Okay, so next I wanted to talk about some of the symptoms that I have been experiencing in my first trimester. And I just want to really quickly say that I was really excited when I got pregnant to watch all of my favorite YouTubers who have done pregnancy playlists and things like that, so that I could kind of just get some information as far as what I was going to be feeling, products to use, things like that. And I was definitely a little bit disappointed in most of the YouTubers' pregnancy videos that I listened to, because most of them kind of just talked about how they had such an easy first trimester, easy pregnancy in general, and maybe that is true, but I also just wonder if maybe sometimes pregnant women, or like when women are pregnant, they maybe don't want to talk about a lot of the negative parts of it, or like negative symptoms that they had. Maybe that's like embarrassing, or maybe they just don't want to sound like they're complaining or whatever it is, which that does make sense to me as well. But it was also a little discouraging for me when I was having some kind of negative feelings about my symptoms, or whatever. It just didn't seem like I had anyone to kind of be able to relate to on that. So I'm going to try to be as honest as possible. I'm also going to try to not be super negative, because obviously pregnancy is a beautiful thing and I'm very thankful to be pregnant. So I do not want to downplay that one bit, but I would have just appreciated like maybe a little bit more honesty about some of these symptoms and how they can really suck. So just wanted to say that very briefly. And like I said, maybe those gals had very easy pregnancies, and that's just the truth. Mine has been fairly easy, I do have to admit, because I haven't had too much pain or too much insane nausea. But I'll just go ahead and get into it. We'll start off with nausea. That's one of the number one symptoms that you think of or hear about with pregnancy. So my entire first trimester, I had a nausea. I would say it kicked in about week 3 or 4. And it was pretty much just like an intense nausea headache, I would call it. I wasn't like running to the bathroom to throw up or anything like that. And the way that I kind of controlled it was just by snacking a little bit of almonds or banana, whatever it was. And that did help a little bit. I've been trying not to take any medications during my pregnancy. Obviously, it's a personal decision, but I have in general always tried to steer away from taking any medications or anything like that. So I haven't been taking like Tylenol or any of those things. We'll see, that may change if I do end up feeling like I need it. I will say that while I'm filming this video, I am actually 16 weeks pregnant. And during my 16th week of pregnancy, I finally did experience vomiting. So I had 2 days this past week where I threw up twice in one day. So that was definitely not fun. I was definitely worried there for a second, wondering if that was going to be like an everyday thing or something, because I was always reading and kind of being told by my doctor that once you get into your second trimester, it's like the easiest trimester for most women and you shouldn't be experiencing any nausea, which I have been, and I'm already in my second trimester. And I've also read that sometimes that is the case for like a certain percentage of women. They will just experience nausea throughout their entire pregnancy. So I'm not really sure where exactly I'm going to fall in that line, but I will report that I'm still having nausea in my second trimester, and that's finally when I actually did need to like run to the toilet to vomit, unfortunately. Another symptom that I definitely experienced was bloating and gas. That's been ongoing, but the bloating was definitely the worst in the first trimester. Your body's kind of just bloating to make room, shift those organs, that kind of a thing. So a lot of bloating. I'm still having some bloating in my second trimester, just as the baby's growing, and that is kind of like linked to gas. So a lot of burping, a lot of farting. And what's weird is that with burping, I have actually always struggled to burp. I drink soda water for that reason throughout the day, but now it's like I'm burping 3 times as much as I ever have in my life every day, which is a little annoying, I will have to say, because another symptom that I've been experiencing a lot is this really weird taste in my palate from the PCG hormone. For me, it's like a very awful taste. So whenever I burp, I kind of taste that taste, if that makes sense. And so it is not like a fun thing. Because of that, I'm actually having a lot of food aversions as well. Foods that I used to like don't taste as good to me. I haven't really been having any pregnancy cravings. If I have been, I would say it's mainly for desserts. Another thing is strong sense of smell. So everything kind of just smells horrible to me right now. Which is obviously not fun either and makes the nausea kind of worse. Another thing with that PCG hormone leaving a bad taste in my mouth is because I think I have a little bit of thrush tongue, which pregnant women can get, babies can also get. It's this really kind of weird white film on your tongue. And so basically, in order to combat that, I've been using something called a metal tongue scraper. So I'm also going to be talking about that a little bit more in the next section, so I'll get back to that. I've also been having lower back pain. That's kind of alleviated a little bit. Actually, it kind of just goes up and down, but it's also linked to your uterus expanding. So whenever that's happening because the baby's growing, it can kind of put pressure on your lower back. And I already have a bad back to begin with. So there have been some days where I'm kind of just lying on my bed with my pregnancy pillow, like trying to get some work done on my laptop because I literally can't sit. And at this point, I'm now lying on my side on the couch if we're like watching a movie or something. So I've been doing like little things like that to kind of help with the lower back pain. And then lastly, just to wrap up symptoms, I've also been having some bad congestion, which has affected my ears. So I will have like a buildup of wax in my ears. This ear, I actually couldn't hear out of for an entire week because it was so plugged up, and right now it's kind of like off and on plugged. So I did use something that helped with that. I only did it that 1 week though. So why don't we go ahead and get into the next section, which is products I used in my first trimester. Okay, so I was going to bring the products out to show you guys, but I think what I'm going to do instead is just insert photos. So the first product that I wanted to tell you guys about are Pregi Pops. I bought organic Pregi Pops from my local organic grocers, and basically what they are is mainly citric acid, and they help with nausea. And I would definitely say that they help with nausea for about an hour, and then that kind of fades off. So you kind of have to be taking a lot of them throughout the day. Thankfully with those organic ones, there was no like limit to how many of them you should take or anything. So that helps with nausea feelings, but if you're going to vomit, it's not going to stop you from vomiting. It just kind of helps alleviate some of the like nausea, headache type feeling that I was kind of talking about. Another thing that also helps with nausea is drinking lemon water. So that also has citrus in it, of course. But the only thing with lemon water is that if you drink too much of it, it can be damaging for your teeth. So what I've been doing is starting my day off with drinking lemon water. So half of a lemon squeezed into hot water. It also helps with digestion. So with some of that, the gas and all of that you're feeling. As I mentioned, I have been using a tongue scraper, a copper tongue scraper to help with some of that thrush tongue. So I use that about 3 times a day at this point. I mentioned it to my doctor and she didn't say anything was wrong with that. So that has really been helping getting rid of that PCG hormone taste, the unpleasant taste that I mentioned on my tongue. So I'll do like a little bit of mouthwash, follow up with a tongue scraper about 3 times a day to help with that. Skylar actually bought me a pregnancy pillow very early on in my pregnancy because I was starting to have that lower back pain right away, and I was getting really worried because of my bad back that I would like not be able to sleep at night and just be in so much pain. So he did buy that for me very early on in my pregnancy, so I've been using it the entire time. I would definitely recommend a pregnancy pillow. Mine is from Leech Co. I got it in this very cute beige color that goes with my bedroom color palette. I also use it when I'm just like sitting in bed, reading, working on my laptop, that kind of thing. Okay, so next up I wanted to talk about beauty products. So I had very early on in my pregnancy done like a lot of research to figure out which of my skincare I could use and couldn't, and most of it had to go. So I have always been using clean skincare for the past like 10 years at this point probably, but even some clean skincare has ingredients in it that you wouldn't want to use when you're pregnant. If you're being really strict about it like I was, I actually used a website resource called 15 Minute Beauty and kind of followed her guidelines as far as what was pregnancy safe and not. Super easy. You just type in the name of the brand and you can see a list of products that are pregnancy safe and then ones that are nursing safe. It's been a little bit tricky finding products that fall into those guidelines, but basically the brands I've been using have been a Cetaphil moisturizing lotion, or actually maybe it's a CeraVe one. I'll have to double check that, but I'll insert the photo for you guys. Moisturizing cream. I've also been using some products from Kiehl's. Their Creme Decor body lotion has been amazing. I'm also using their line reducing eye concentrate. And then I'm also using some products from Honest Beauty, one of their gentle face cleansers and a face lotion. I'm using a Aveeno body wash, a very gentle Aveeno body wash that does fall into those guidelines. And then as far as makeup, I have been using mostly Tower 28 Beauty, which is clean and does fall into the pregnancy safe category, and a couple of makeup products from Honest Co as well. My prenatal, which we have done so much research on, I have actually switched prenatals so many times. Early on, I was taking some gummy vitamins when we were just trying to conceive, but I realized that those actually don't have all of the vitamins and minerals that you need for pregnancy. Basically, we did a lot of research, and what we found was the best for me was a prenatal from Honest Co. It also has some ginger in it, which ginger helps with nausea as well. And it pretty much just has like all the vitamins and minerals that we really wanted to make sure that I was getting. So I definitely recommend that one, although the vitamin capsules are like huge. And whenever I was having really bad nausea in the morning, it was definitely hard to take them. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about the belly oil that I have been using, which is one that my brother and sister got me for my birthday because it's a little bit spendy. It is the Hatch Mama body oil. And although I do like it, I have to say the bottle that I have is like a 64-ounce bottle, and I've already used like nearly half of it. And I've only been using it for a month and a half, like not even 2 months, because the way the consistency of it just doesn't feel like it's enough to spread on my skin. So I end up using more to really get my belly, torso area as moisturized as I want it to be. So I think because of that, I'm just draining through it. But I have also started using coconut oil for probably about half a month now to kind of like preserve some of the Hatch Mama body oil. So the coconut oil, afterwards I follow up with that after using the Hatch Mama belly oil, and I am doing basically my entire breast area, my entire torso area, the back of my torso, and also hips and like upper thighs. So just any areas where I know that are prone to stretch marks basically. I may end up trying some other belly oils throughout my pregnancy, we'll see, but that's what I'm doing for right now. So really quickly, I wanted to talk about lifestyle changes that I made as soon as I became pregnant. A lot of these were things that I had already known that I wanted to do when I was pregnant. So very early on in my pregnancy, we were still running. We had been running pretty much all year since January, Skylar and I, and we continued doing that until about 2.5 months into my pregnancy. We had read that it was still safe to go running until past the first trimester, but around 2 to 2.5 months, I was just already not feeling up to it. So we stopped running at that point and instead started going on walks about 5 to 6 days a week. It kind of just depended. Now I've actually been very busy these past couple weeks, so I haven't been able to go walking as much as I would like to. That is definitely the goal. I also started doing pregnancy Pilates, which I do feel safe doing during my pregnancy. There are certain workouts that I will do, and then certain ones where I just won't do if I don't think it's the right thing for me or my body. So that is something that I've been doing just to get exercise, stay in shape. We also started going to bed very early on in my pregnancy. We try to only watch TV for like a couple hours in the evening and then do a little bit of reading. We've been going through some pregnancy books. I actually do have a few that I would definitely recommend. We have been reading Nurture, which I will link for you guys, insert a photo of. Also the New Rules of Pregnancy, I believe is what it's called. I'll also insert a photo of that one, both of which were super helpful, and we're still getting through the Nurture one, but we've been reading those in the evening and then just going to bed early. I think I'm nearly getting almost 9 hours of sleep. I already mentioned that I am not taking any medication, so that's kind of like a lifestyle type change, I suppose. And then also we have been eating organic foods. So before my pregnancy, we weren't really eating organic foods. Obviously I would have liked to, but they are quite expensive. But when I became pregnant, we decided that it was worth spending the money to have organic foods. That was definitely recommended in both of my pregnancy books. So that, even though that's kind of expensive to do, we have decided that it was important to us. So I would say that was a pretty big lifestyle change. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this video up by just talking a little bit about my appointments that we've had so far. I will say that I was so stressed waiting until our first ultrasound appointment, which was at 12 weeks, because I was really afraid during that entire first trimester of possibly having a miscarriage because of what had happened very early on when we had started trying to get pregnant. It was really hard for us when we went through that miscarriage, so I would say it was a little hard. So just trying to stay as positive as possible, but waiting until that first appointment where we got to see the baby on the ultrasound and just making it to that point, I would say it was very stressful for us. Getting to see the baby on the ultrasound made everything so much more real though, because until that point, it's hard to get too attached when you're worried of a miscarriage or something like that. So getting to see the baby on the ultrasound and hear the heartbeat was such a beautiful thing. As much as a relief that was, it was still very stressful and just kind of like worrisome when we had to wait another nearly 2.5 weeks. I think it was maybe a total of 3 weeks, because we had to go elsewhere to do the prenatal pregnancy panel testing, whatever it's called, to check to make sure that the baby was healthy. I would imagine that that would be the case for most pregnant women, but possibly it was a little bit worse for me just because I'm already an anxious person in general. So that was quite torturous, I would say, waiting for the first ultrasound appointment and waiting for the results of the tests. I would also say that another thing that has been hard is keeping the pregnancy secret, not being able to share anything about it with you guys on social media, just because it's recommended to wait until you're past the first trimester to announce the news, because once you're past the first trimester, it's a lot less common to have a miscarriage. Now, I actually did tell my family very early on, like at around a month and a half to 2 months, because they were aware of the first miscarriage. So I really wanted them just praying for me, sending positive vibes. So I did tell them early on, which that of course I was thankful for, but having to like hide my belly in photos for like Instagram stories, having to basically not being able to share it with my social media following has been very hard for me. But that was definitely something that was harder than I expected, especially when your body is like changing so much and you're having to try to hide it and also not maybe looking like you're pregnant necessarily. There's a certain point where your belly pops, but until that point you kind of just feel like you look bloated. At least that's how I felt. So that was a little bit tough. But so if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also please make sure that you are subscribed for the rest of my pregnancy journey. And you can also check me out on all socials at The Urban Darling and my blog, theurbandarling.com, for more lifestyle content and more pregnancy content that I'm not going to necessarily be sharing on here. I think one of my next videos is probably going to be a baby haul. My mom was in town recently and she took me baby shopping and bought me some of the cutest things, so I definitely want to share that in a haul with you guys very soon. And I have a lot of other fun videos that I want to be sharing with you guys as well throughout my pregnancy. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next videos. Bye!